Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It is Marvin speaking. So, when people come out and say at the end of the day, or you shouldn't be talking about this case, in the early days, why people got so much wrapped into this case, because it was believed, and even Debbie mentioned it, that Jay might have been taken. And this is the Daily Mail actually talking to her early on in the case. And this was why it was so much worry for those of us who's got children or kids or even family members that are young, cousins or other relatives. At the end of the day, it is harrowing to know like a young man has gone missing. Let's get straight into this.
If someone does have Jay, what would your message be to them?
Well, you just let him go. Just let him go.
It's been
Just let him
three.
go. It's been 3 days. Has somebody taken him? Has he just panic? Where am I? You know, they've been in high spirits. They've been to an event. You know, has he just thought, right, I need to go get back down to civilise it? But there is people up there. Why has nobody seen him? You know, there's tourists up there. It's a climbing. You know, it's a hive of activity at 8 a.m. in the morning. I can't bear to see where we could be just lying there somewhere. I can't bear it. I don't have the strength to do it. But
So that was basically the Daily Mail talking to Debbie Duncan very early on in the case there. And my first worry was if she's actually thinking that, and also she received a message that we've got your son, surely that ties in together that there was something sinister that she thought that happened in that case that may have changed later on. Maybe she got it wrong, maybe she didn't. But that was a worry. So people are going to think, how can I help in this case? At the end of the day, because this was world news, why everyone was looking for him. So, and we were sitting back and being told things we didn't even know, if you remember. And let's get into some of those things. So this was a early, basically, update by Mark Williams Thomas, and also he works for numerous newspapers as a basically tabloid investigator.
We've received. We now know that Jay took certain actions whilst at the rental because he was clearly worried about his own safety, and this was shortly before he decided to leave.
Mark Williams Thomas has issued an update on the disappearance of Jay Slater. The former policeman has claimed he has received a significant piece of information concerning the teenager's disappearance. Williams Thomas confirmed he has passed on the details to both the British and Spanish authorities. He hinted on a post that the information could provide some clarity over why he may have left in a hurry and did not want to return to the rental even though his phone was about to go flat. He did not go into more detail about the case.
So we've heard this. So we are the public listening to this, what the Daily Mail has to say, the papers, Mark Williams Thomas, and we're actually thinking, hold on, this kid has left the Airbnb. Mark Williams Thomas got some information that he had two knives on him, so Jay was afraid of something. What was he afraid of? If this was just genuinely an accident. So people are going to be on the back foot. Oh my God, this young lad is obviously afraid of something. And we're not being told the full story. Don't forget, we were basically given a description from the tabloids, from Mark Williams Thomas, that something is not right in this case. And surely as the public, we've got the right to look into it, that there's something not quite right. If nobody had come out and said, look, at the end of the day, I think there's a little bit suspicious into this death, and just say, hey, it was never found. We didn't know about Rocky. We didn't know about really his friends that much. But we hear that he was heavily, basically, rugged up and drinking, and then ended up in a ravine as a doss and fell. We wouldn't have thought anything of it. And it's only because certain names were actually brought up in this case and that timelines didn't add up. We were talking about this case, because we didn't want this to happen to anybody else. And don't forget, it was the tabloid that was telling all of this for us to think, oh my God, this could be something sinister that happened. We wasn't thinking that until the tabloids and the MWT were coming out and saying things. That's people wouldn't forget. If this was just an accident, and Abe and Rocky and the rest of them were never mentioned, we wouldn't have known any difference. We move on to Mark Williams Thomas investigating missing Jay Slater. So this is kind of interesting in why people thought there's a little bit more than this to meet the eye. I'll let you listen to it first and I'll make a comment, people.
Men have spoken to the police, but they are now back in England.
People as key as you say they are, Mark, what do you make of the fact that they've been allowed to return to the UK?
I think the problem is that the starting point of this investigation for the Spanish authorities has been one of a missing person. I don't know whether that has increased or whether it's decreased. From a starting point, if this was it was in the UK, I would have started investigating as a critical incident, and I'd have done everything so that you can secure the crime scene, the potential crime scene or the identification, and then of course you can come back down. Once you've lost evidence.
That's how it should have been done. But you've got to ask your questions at the end of the day. What made him say this is a critical investigations? So if it's critical investigations, and the Spanish police, the Guardia Civil, have seen it as a missing persons case, why had he seen that basically, that technically he's saying people should have been questioned and people should have been held? Why is he saying that? Because of what he's heard. There must be something in what he heard to make him think that this is more than a missing persons case. And this is why so many people were invested in this case, into helping to solve what possibly could have been a crime. And that was put out there in the early stages, not by us, the sleuths, but by the media and by people investigating this case. This is NWT, this 26th of June 2024, and technically he's talking about Abe, and we believe that someone else was posing as, Rocky was posing as somebody else that doesn't want to be televised, should I see. So the suspicion in these cases were very, very high. And we're supposed to sit back and think, oh, there's nothing going on yet. Let's turn a blind eye to this. And what if this was someone we knew or a family member? Let's get straight into it.
I need to speak to those people. Those people have crucial information. There will be you as well as many other people who are asking very pertinent questions in relation to why are they here, what were they doing, why did they take Jade back to that holiday rent. I know the name of one of those individuals, his nickname. I do not know the name of the other person, but I do have a photograph of that one person. I do not intend to release that photograph yet. But if they do not come forward, I will release that information and ask the public to tell me who they are. So I urge them to come forward before I do that. And the only reason I'm doing that is I believe they have crucial information that may enable us to find out what has happened in this incident.
There you go. So what we'd realised from the tabloids and from who, and I know MWT is probably freelance, should I say, they were very highly suspicious of Abe and Rocky very, very early on in the case. And then we heard about their criminal records, and that's where speculations did probably get a little bit out of control. But we were actually worried about Jay in what happened to him in those early days. But like I said, don't forget, it wasn't us who originally put ourselves in a position where we actually thinking, oh, did something sinister. We were forced to by what we were heard, but what we heard, that these people, that there's some dodgy people involved in the disappearance of Jay Slater, and they should be looked into. MWT, His own words were a critical investigation should have been put in place. So there must have been something he heard or seen in being the 3 or 4 days he was actually out there to tell us that there was something not quite right in what was being told, and this wasn't an accident. We move on, people, to Joseph Morris about the boat.
Through a tunnel to this location and be brought out to the ocean by the boat. And on the same day as Jay went missing, the boat landed in La Palma up here for a few days. Then it made its way to La Gomera for another few days. And get this, on the same day it was reported Jay's mom, Debbie, withdrew funds from her GoFundMe on June 27th. The boat made its way back to Tenerife. The insider reveals that on this remote beach in Tenerife that had webcams of the water, the boat met up with another boat during the night to potentially plant Jay's body at the bottom of the cliff. So did Debbie work out some sort of deal with the people on this boat that had her son?
It was joined during the night. Couldn't see as it was pitch black, but I know it was alone when the sun went down, and by morning another vessel was there with it. Wow. Could it be unrelated? But this beach is very secluded, so it was just very strange as they set off with just maybe an hour between them.
Yeah, so did another...
That was Joseph Morris, people's videos, which were very, very interesting in this case as well. But like I said, there are lots of things that we thought about which didn't add up in this case, because the tabloid and the news put that out there. And people want us to not believe that there was nothing going on out of the ordinary in this case, and we shouldn't discuss it. That is really, really bizarre to me at the end of the day, because this is what we wasn't told from the start. An accident is an accident, it's proven as an accident at the end of the day. But what we heard from the tabloids, MWT, and many other people, that there was more going on than suspected. And we were just sitting back in the early days, thinking that this poor boy's got lost in the mountains, probably dossing about or something. And then things started to come out. And we weren't the ones who were telling the story. People were slipping up due to their timelines and to what was going on. Remember the early days, and these were technically witnesses who basically saw Jay taken off. Don't forget, if someone wants to basically come out and say something, we've got no control of that. No control over that. So why there were so many podcasts talking about, and Facebook groups set up talking about the case? Let's get straight into it.
He said it. Listen again.
Something happened on that beach. Why people...
Did he get stabbed on the beach, or was it outside the club?
Outside the club. So
What's your language? What's your language, Shelley?
It's happened at the club outside, and then he's been taken away on a shoulder of somebody else and whisked off, basically.
Wow. So obviously, I'm not going to go back into the whole videos, people, but that's it. Oh my God, big slick up by Lucy J. Slater Cage. She's working for Quackers. Don't forget, we didn't know, like I said, who Quackers was until that beach video come on. But like I said, we know the story. But like I said, if eyewitnesses are basically saying this happened and they're too afraid to come forward because of what might come back at them, why are people having podcasts? Why are people talking basically straightforward, straight ahead? I don't think this guy was lying. I think he was pretty honest that something since to happen. So we're sitting back. We're told this is an accident, but the tabloid, NWT, obviously working for the tabloids, the eyewitnesses, the club, basically saying, look, there's nothing to see here. We can't really explain. We've passed all those videos to the Guardia Civil, and now probably they've released it to Channel 4, which is fair enough all these months later, because like I said, they want this case closed down. So we were sitting back, told technically, basically, as the case went along, it was an accident. But when we looked into it and what people were actually saying to the public, we're not to have our own viewpoints, that there's nothing sinister in this case or nothing to look at. When we're being told a story, that there could be a little bit of suspicion, what are we supposed to do? Ignore it and go along with what the Guardia Civil says? There's nothing to see here. This is why so many people were invested into the case, is because what we were being told. And yet, the sleuths, us sleuths talking about it, because we wanted justice for Jay Slater, and maybe some of the other side didn't, because they want to only see it one way. It's bizarre to me. We never, ever brought this narrative up. That narrative was brought up by people who were looking into this case, and some eyewitnesses as well. So what are we supposed to do? Just go along with the narrative and say nothing? This is a free world, or it's supposed to be a free world. Please, people, answer those questions and let me know what you think. Because like I said, this is certainly not the TikTokers or YouTubers. Yeah, there are some nasty people out there. I must admit that said some really bad things to Debbie. I've never abused them once. But what I have said is basically stuff we heard from the tabloid, MWT, and many others out there that doesn't add up. And so what we did want is the answers. And I hope that the documentary gives us those answers and answers some of these questions that we didn't originally put out there. Let me know what you think, people. And don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment. Thank you.